All right. Welcome to episode 7 of Political Animals, where we give you an incisive, analytical, and cynical take on geopolitical activities. I'm Mustafa Janadu in Washington, D.C., making this up from my head right now. I'm the cynical one, and Kune Williams is in Lagos. He's cynical about the something, but not about the world. I tried to make a joke. I couldn't even come up with something, but he's the less cynical, hopeful one. So let's get started. So this thing in Israel continues. At this point now, you don't even have to read the news to know that every day somebody's getting killed in Palestine. They're talking more about it now because it's centered around aid. The people in Israel are starving individuals in Gaza. This is a form of warfare that's really terrible. It goes beyond Nazism. They're starving these people. Then when there's sites set up by international organizations or American organizations, when these sites are set up to give aid to them, they strike at these areas. They bomb by nearby tents where refugees are, and fire is set upon people who are going for food. So it seems like this is not about Hamas. This is about luring Israelis, luring people from Gaza, starving them, which is cruel. Then when they come to get food, have fun and kill some of them, 30, 40. And I don't know what the strategic purpose of this is, other than to humiliate and demoralize these guys. And I don't know what other option. If they say, okay, leave, if they told them to leave, if they say go to Egypt or somewhere, they'll probably stand at the border and kill them as they're leaving too. So this is going to be it's sadism. It's not just they're trying to do a genocide. They're actually being sadistic to these people. What do you think? Yeah.
Well, you see, every 10 days in Israel, we have seen the number of people being killed in October 7th are being killed in Gaza every 10 days. And the reason why I keep
How many?
highlighting
How
the
many did you
number,
say every 10 days? How many? Yeah.
every 10 days, about 1,000 people, which is about the
Oh
same number of people that were killed in October 7th. Every
yeah.
10 days since October 7th, they've killed that number of civilians. And the reason I highlight this is because the incident with the man who hurt 8 Israeli protesters is being charged with 118 counts of attacks, including acts of anti Semitism. And this anti Semitism question is becoming more ridiculous because they are preying on the ignorances of the American people. Arabs are Semites, Palestinians are Semites, not all Zionists are Semites. They are not fighting them because they are Jews. They are fighting them because they are Israelis. Just like if you are fighting Saudi Arabia, you don't mean if you go and go to war to Saudi Arabia, it doesn't mean you hate the whole Muslim community. You're
No, you're
fighting
not anti-Semitic.
Saudis.
Yeah.
So it's a country thing. I don't know why America is now using this thing to play this spin of anti-Semitism, which is completely false. Even Hamas say they've got no problem with Orthodox Jews. There's no problem with the Jews.
No.
It's Israel. So I do have to highlight 20 people were killed trying to get food, men, women, and children,
Yeah.
shot. And the doctors have been saying they've been seeing headshots on babies, chests, shots to the head and the chest. I mean, they're not machine gunning them from a distance. They're sniping them. They're like, this is a baby, shoot it in the head. That's what they're doing. And if you go to World War II, in the French resistance in France and Vichy France, if the French resistance killed a German soldier, then in retaliation, they would kill 22, they would round up 22 French civilians and execute them. Even if they're white, they don't care. And what we have now in Palestine is for every person that was killed in October 7th, a woman or a
Most of
child, not
which were
even men,
military. Most of which were military.
not even men, because not all the men that are being killed are combatants. Women and
Yeah.
children, 30 women and children are being killed for every person that was killed on October 7th. Bearing in mind that Palestinian Hamas only killed 400 soldiers, maybe 100 civilians, and the rest were killed by Hannibal Protocol of Israel by itself. Hamas didn't kill more than 500 people. So if you now want to do the math on that, the number is even worse. So that's why it's always important to highlight the bloodshed
Oh yeah.
and the carnage that's going on.
Yeah,
Um,
and we have to go further. We have to remember that leading up to October 7th, there had been decades of subjugation of people in the Gaza. Gaza is a slum. It doesn't have properly. It has water, but very little proper functioning water. Hospitals and things were being they weren't being supplied like they need to, because they were, even at that point, there was barrage because Israel was not allowing things to get into Gaza. They had blockades and things like that.
Yeah.
The conditions were bad. IDF was going in there and helping Israeli settlers take land from people by force, sometimes kill them. They were killing young men because these young men were saying, free Palestine, and the young men that they call Hamas. So what happened on October 7th, we also need context in which it was a militant strike. It was a counter strike towards Israel. Whether it was right or not wrong, we need to have that. This is just like the Irish Republican forces in that they call terrorists in Europe, in England and Britain. It's the same type of thing. Frustrated people who are striking back against a terrorist settler nation, which has created a system of apartheid, which is very horrible. What these guys are doing, what Hamas is doing, and what these young guys are doing is the same thing that what guys like what's his name from South Africa, Madiba, who was the first black president of South Africa, Mandela. The same thing Mandela did.
Mandela.
Mandela and young people were creating Molotov cocktails, planning bombings on buildings to fight the apartheid system in South Africa. So what Hamas is doing is the same thing. But when they do it, the Europeans malign them and say, okay, this justifies striking Gaza, and then they'll say, "Oh, well, what they did was wrong, so that's why Israel is attacking them." But now Israel's going too far. So we have to paint the narrative is that what Hamas did was partly justified because they have been under siege.
It's not partly. It's not partly.
Fully justified.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. Under international law.
They killed a couple of civilians. So let's say that was wrong. Okay, same thing as in Russia fighting.
No, it's not wrong.
To kill, you don't think it's wrong to kill civilians?
Yeah, what I'm trying to say, specific. It's not what I think. It's not what I think now. What I'm saying is, under international law, if you are occupied, you have the legal right under international law
to defend yourself.
Use armed resistance if you are under occupation.
So that part isn't wrong.
So although they're being called terrorists, although they're being called terrorists under international law, if you are under occupation, you have the right to bear arms.
Okay, but here's the thing. So here's the thing. Let's say there's a war between Ukraine and Russia now, right? Ukraine goes into Russia and bombs areas where there's civilians. That's not under the code of war. So what I'm saying is that Hamas did kill some civilians inside Israel. That part is
not Israel, though. That place was taken over in '67. That place was not Israel. Israel there illegally.
But even if you go into that territory and kill civilians, let's look at the moral aspect of it. Trust me, I'm on Hamas's side. But when you go to a place where kids are dancing and you shoot them, which I think is a lie. Let's say it's true. If you start shooting kids who are dancing at a party, there are even rules of engagement in war. To just kill a civilian for the hell of it.
Yeah, I'm being very technical here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, but I don't even believe they're guilty of that. But I'm just saying, let's cede that to the Westerners and to show them that it's still wrong. That does not justify coming into a country and killing 56,000 people intentionally, which are civilians. That's genocidal, and it's a heinous war crime, and Netanyahu should pay for that. What do you think?
Yeah. So what I'm saying is even legally, technically, if the Palestinians had invaded areas of land that maybe they had taken before 1967, then that would have been a crime because that land, according to the UN and international law, belongs to them. But the land that Hamas
go back as far back as before that.
1967.
I would even argue that that's not legitimate because it was in the 1940s. To me, see, there's two things. According to international law, they'll say that Hamas is a terrorist, according to international law. That's what they're trying to say because of what they did on October 7th. But I'm going to even go further and say, even before 1967, Israel was an illegally created state. As far as I'm talking about illegal, not necessarily, it was unjustified. It was created by the British without the consent of people in that area. Let's talk.
Yes, I don't want to talk about.
I don't want to talk about law anymore.
I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about law anymore.
What I'm saying is, even by their own game. I'm saying that what you're saying is right. When I'm saying that even if you play by their own game of international law is illegal or is not illegal, even by international law standards, Hamas is not committing a crime. Even if you look at the technicality of it, they are not committing a crime. If they had invaded Tel Aviv, then that would have been a crime because UN said Tel Aviv belongs to Israel. That's just the point I'm making.
Yeah.
So they have the right to existence on any land that is occupied.
And the biggest issue is that Hamas has not been, or neither Hamas nor Palestine has been convicted of any crimes internationally. Uh, Israel, even though it's not going to be enforced through South Africa, has been convicted of genocidal acts. Am I right or wrong? I think I'm right.
Yes,
What
you're
is
right. Mohammed Sinwar and Netanyahu were charged with war crimes at the same time, but Sinwar has already been executed. Netanyahu is yet to face by his attacker.
well,
Netanyahu is yet to face
who
international
executed him? Yeah.
Israel in an airstrike. Remember the drone strike when they
Oh,
showed pictures of his dead
for
body and
Hamas. Okay,
everything?
Hamas. Okay, yeah, they executed him.
Can you
But
tell
yeah,
you?
yeah, but they do that anyway. So
Yes.
they do that anyway. So, but the main thing is
Yeah,
that
so
these
they've
guys,
already executed him without trial.
yeah. So you have 20 individuals dead in the
Yeah.
last 24 hours. 32 have died. 3 individuals from one family were killed in a tent, and also once again, 8 medics. 3 medics were killed. So we're seeing that this is a targeted war against people who are helping people in Gaza, and also against people who are refugees in tents who've already fled areas that Israel wants to occupy. And also, you have these organizations, except what's the other one? GHF. What's the American one, which was part of luring
It's a
people?
massacre. It's just,
It's a massacre,
I don't know
and
what
it's
they call
also
a
it's
long term.
orchestrated.
They're
It's very
executing
well
them. They're
planned.
not firing back.
It's very well planned, and I believe that it's partly planned by the U.S. They put aid there to lure people to kill them. And this is a broader
Okay.
type of warfare. This is a hybrid warfare in which they were trying to break the spirit of these people totally by doing sadistic actions. The sadism is also strategic. It's to totally destroy. And I fear that we're sitting down watching the world is going to do nothing. And 60 years from now, people are going to be like, how did the world allow the Palestinians to be wiped off of the face of the earth? That's all I have to say for today. What do you think? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Netanyahu is now arming militias inside Palestine to fight Hamas. But I
Oh
don't
yeah, yeah.
know whether that's
He's
going to
trying to
work
breed a
or
civil
what
war.
sense that's going to
He's
do.
trying to breed a civil war within the country to make it weaker. I still have questions as to whether Hamas
No, those
itself.
guns are going to be eventually turned on Israel.
I even wonder if Hamas itself.
I've never seen a situation where two resistance groups fight each other whilst under occupation. I've never seen it. I'm curious
Well,
to
here's
see
the
how
thing.
that develops.
We have the real question though. I even wonder about Hamas itself, whether it's not part of the mechanism of of Israel and America, the same way that America
Okay,
used.
that to give them the false flag
Yeah, because why
by
would you
giving
attack?
the.
Why would you attack 1,000? What was the purpose of that attack if it wasn't a strategic attack? You see what I'm saying? Why would you do that when you know that they're going to destroy and kill 56,000 of your own people? And now that they're killing your own people, you're not fighting back. Do you get my point? Why,
I
for
think the
example,
reason for
if I
that
were
attack
if I were a
was
true patriot of Nigeria, I wouldn't attack America unless I had a game plan in which I knew I could win, because I know what they'll do to Nigeria. And all these groups like Hamas, Al Qaeda, all these so-called liberation, they started off as liberation fronts in the Middle East. We have to track the money and see if they're not actually created by the West. I begin to wonder about Hamas either, because they had a big bark. We're going to do this, we're going to do that, and they've done nothing. And they've let their children
I
and
think
wives.
Hamas's problem is I'm thinking Hamas's problem is this. They didn't want to go by the route of the most successful would have been what ANC did, which was terrorism, which was planting bombs, not a
Yeah,
conventional assault.
yeah,
But I think that was becoming more impossible to do in Israel. So I do believe what you're saying that for Hamas to have even done what they did, they must have connived with the Israeli forces at some level.
yeah.
There's something
I,
going on that
yeah,
is
and
being
this is how
hidden,
the
and
CIA
it's not
works.
being hidden well. Clearly. Yes, clearly there is no end. It's a pointless idea. So, I mean, it was a stupid thing to do because it has achieved nothing except a lot of bloodshed and the destruction of the country. But then again, any move that you made to try to resist in Israel is stupid because it
Yeah,
will result in bloodshed. So, what do you do?
yeah. But
What
the
do you
thing is that,
do?
but the next question is, so maybe they'll do like the Native Americans here. You just accept the fact that you're going to go extinct rather than
Just
bow
die
down.
out
Yeah, just that. That's
and then
actually
just
better.
let yourself die out
That's
slowly.
better. That's better to me. It's better to die out than to say, okay, we give you Gaza and we'll move to Egypt everywhere. Die out. That's the honorable way. That's the kamikaze way. I know it sounds very cynical, but that's what I believe. What do you
Die,
think?
and then there's one or two of you, and then everyone feels sorry for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way they feel sorry for the Aborigines and the red race now are just oh, we feel sorry for you for
Oh,
what you've done.
that's what they're trying to
And
do
I
to
think they
Israel.
wanted to turn Palestine into that. We feel
Yeah,
sorry for you, race.
but no, that's not going to happen. You're going to have to kill every single
Yes.
one. And you know what? After you kill every single one of them, that's going to be on that's going to be on America. That's going to be on the West. It's also going to be on Russia, China. It's on the collective globe. Because what we have with the UN is that if you're not China or Russia or America or France and those countries, nobody's going to defend you. They're not going to enact UN law. So, for example, UN will never send peacekeepers to Israel and Gaza because to do that, that means they're going to have to take up arms against Israel. They'll never do it. So the UN to me is a what's the word? What will be the right word? It's a rule-based organization that's based. It's almost like oligarchy. Might is right. It's not based on justice. The UN system, the UN is not based on justice, on the concept of justice. It's based on the concept of might is right. So their concept of what justice is that if you fuck with any powerful country in the wrong way, then justice will be doled upon you. But if USA attacks Iraq, which is wrong, we will not defend Iraq. But if Iraq attacks the US, UN will defend Iraq and it will defend the US. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. Well, I think he's gone, but I said my point, I think. But let's see if we can get him back in. Okay. Yeah, so what I was going to say, basically what I was saying in a nutshell, is that justice is only applied when powerful nations are treated unjustly. It's a one-sided justice system. And that's what the UN is. The
Might is
UN,
right.
your might is right. Yeah, but not only that, so they won't say, for example, like when the US attacks Iraq, they'll say that's wrong. Okay, when they invade, but they won't act on it. But if Iraq illegally attacks the US, the UN security forces will jump in and save them. So not only might is right, and also justice is only upheld for the mighty. Yeah, you get my point. Yeah.
Yeah, they've even openly said that ICJ and ICC is to prosecute the shithole countries. It's not to prosecute the Western countries. They've said it like it's a right.
Yeah.
It's not
So
supposed to be for the Western countries to be under any kind of examination. And that's the argument that they make. They
yeah,
say that they're not bound by jurisdiction. Now, the ICC and ICJ were the reason why they were able to win the war World War II. After Nuremberg, it was the ICC and ICJ that justified what had to happen to win that war
yeah.
and what New World Order came from. So to now say you are not under its jurisdiction is to say that that is the end of the New World Order. And
Their
it's
biggest mistake.
ironic that it's the Western countries that designed it have
Yeah.
now broken it themselves
Then
and
they
have
put a
now
warrant.
deemed
They
it
put a warrant
not worthy.
for arrest. They put a warrant for arrest on Putin for what? For a few. He didn't do. In
Yeah,
fact, he didn't
because
commit
it's
any
supposed to be a
crime.
weapon for fighting Putin
Yeah.
and for
But here's
Western
the thing.
hegemony. It's not a weapon for world justice.
But we know
That's what
what's
they're
going to
saying.
happen.
It shouldn't
We
be, but it's
we know what
operating as it's trying to be,
yeah. We know
and that's the issue.
we know what's going to happen. Russia, China, and the global South will eventually break off from all those things. It's just a matter of time. What do you think? And they'll have their own system.
Yeah, what matters is if the ICJ can't do their job, it's the end of the world order for the West. That's the problem that they're facing, and they don't realize.
Oh well, you know what they say: capitalism and not just capitalism and white supremacy contains contradictions, which will break it down because they've undermined
Yeah,
their own
but this will
principles.
destroy. This will destroy. This is the most important facet that they use to control this world order. If they now turn on it, it's a big, big deal. I don't think they see how big a problem this is. Just as
What they'll say is
the
they'll
Western government rejects its own policing system.
yeah, but they'll say that we're only rejecting it for small nations, but we'll still uphold. Let's face it, all this ICJ and all these
Yeah,
things.
that can't work for the world because you can't deny, that means you're denying the basic man
Yeah,
justice. When you
that's
deny
why.
basic man justice, you cannot have a pax.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. The whole system is an empire, the Western Empire. So they can do away with ICJ and just say that they're going to have a world war to try to assert their supremacy. That's all they can do. Do you get my point? So my point being is that the power
Are you back?
what's yeah, I'm here. What's upholding the West right now is not its justice system, is its military supremacy. Once once they lose that, it's done. They're not going to be able to impose their own will on the world. And I would even argue that there's never been any such a thing as global
Well,
justice.
military supremacy cannot work by itself. Even Germany couldn't control the world from other. You still need to provide the ordinary man with the concept or the hope of basic justice. If you don't have that, then you're just going to be fighting, 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 fighting.
Okay,
And you're
well,
just going to be but you'll be constantly fighting.
yeah, no,
You
yeah,
won't
no,
see
but no,
peace.
no, no. You don't need that. What you need is law and order. So law and order is that you just need to have police
Yeah.
and soldiers who make rules. That's not the same thing as justice, though. They'll just make rules, and if you don't follow the rules, you're in trouble. And they'll make sure that the rules are such
Yes.
that if a poor man robs a poor man, the police will settle that issue. So the poor man can say, "I have,"
Yes.
but
But the
the poor man robs.
facade of justice has been destroyed.
Yeah, yeah, it's been destroyed.
That
So now,
facade of justice.
yeah.
Yes.
So now that the facade is destroyed, people just have to make a decision of whether they're going to be obedient or not. So, for example, I know there's no justice in America, but I still follow the laws because I have a family to feed. So they're ruling me out of fear. So now that the facade of justice is gone, the only way they can rule is by fear. Once fear is gone, that's when they're in big
It's
trouble.
by violence. Yeah. Force
Yeah.
is the only thing you can use, and force doesn't last long.
No, it
No
doesn't
matter
last
how
long.
strong you are, force doesn't last. Your enemies will just learn what you're doing, copy you, and take you out. That's what
That's it.
that
And
they it
that's what's
just
going to
won't
happen
work.
in the West because we're seeing it already in the U.S. People are flagrantly like cartels, the black boys in the hood. They're out here fighting with machine guns and they're not listening to anybody because of poverty. And you look at the two
All
groups
those
of people.
American soldiers, some of them are black poor people. Now they know how to use every single weapon that America has
Yeah,
in its
no, no, and
arsenal.
a lot
They'll
of
just
Marines.
train others, steal some weapons. Before
Not
you
only that,
know it,
a lot
they
of
assimilate everything using
in
the
fact,
same technology.
a lot of American soldiers who came back from war from Iraq and Afghanistan, they now work as armed men for like drug depots and stuff, illegal drug depots and stuff. They're mercenaries now. They're working for the cartel because they want to get paid. And the U.S. government didn't even take care of its own soldiers. So now a lot of people who are hitmen for drug dealers and stuff are people who had military and tactical training. You get what I'm saying? And I've seen some of the videos. These guys are good. They can take a car in the middle of traffic with 5 or 6 of them. They know what to do. Take out their, they call it ops. They take out their ops. And it looks like that game, those video games where you have Fort, what do they call it? Fort, something Fort. My son used to play it. So these guys, so
Or
what you're
Grand
saying is
Theft
true.
Auto.
Yeah. These guys, a lot of those guys, they're not just gangsters from the hood. They're people who they learned operations in the war. So what you're seeing in America, same thing in
Yeah.
Rome. You started using soldiers and gladiators to kill each other for entertainment. We're having a decaying it's a decaying empire. So yeah, so this has been a good show. So we'll just
Even
run
gangs
down.
and gangsters in America have military training
Yeah.
from people that came back.
Yeah. So yeah. And then I've even seen I knew one guy who was involved with gangs and he told me that he was in the military and he even trained his pit bulls to kill people and then come back and then the police can't trace it to anybody because it's a dog. Do you understand what I'm saying? They can train a dog and have it go 2 or 3 kilometers somewhere and jump on somebody and kill them. And then on the news they'll say pit bull, mad pit bull kills human, and everybody thinks it's an accident. Do you get my point? This is some scary shit. It's very scary. They know how to train dogs and stuff. So they're now even using dogs and things like that. Next thing you know, they'll be using explosives put under people's cars and things like that. That's where America is headed to. Anyways, last thoughts. Let's get back on track. So yeah.
Well, that's where Colombia is today.
Oh
There
yeah, I
was
was
an
thinking about Colombia. That's
assassination
why
of
I wouldn't be a
the
judge in
presidential
Colombia.
hopeful in Colombia.
I wouldn't be a
Yeah.
judge in Colombia. I wouldn't run in politics. So yeah, so this continues. I don't know how this is going to end. Um, they say that even the aid areas that are trying to give aid to people in Gaza, the ones that are not trying to lure them, say they only have 1% of the provisions they need anyway. So this blockade is even a bigger problem because they're starving the Palestinians out. And by the time this is over, we're going to realize it's just like what they did to the Jewish people, where 6 million died. And when the American soldiers came, they saw skeletons, men who weighed 30 kgs and things like that. So this is what they're doing. So America hasn't changed. It's funding an all-out Nazi genocide. That's all I have to say. What are your thoughts, Kunle? And take us out, actually.
Yeah, it's a double whammy to the world order.
Yeah.
In one fell swoop, they've disavowed their own justice system, and they're starving millions of people to death, whilst crying over the deaths of about for every let's say 30 children, and because of that, they've decided to kill 20,000 children based on their color or skin or whatever it is that they use to feel supreme these days. And they think that the global south will look at it and go, yes, I agree. that the white man, that I agree that the white man is 30 times more valuable than me. And for every white man that dies, 30 of us should die. I agree with you. That's how worth my life is, because that's how they treat us anyway. So
Yeah.
anybody that is not white that supports it is just accepting the fact that their life is not worth shit.
That's it.
Um,
If you're
because
black
there's
or
a person
colored
up
American,
front
you
to
ain't
you.
shit. That's
If you
basically it.
know that it's the government that is doing it and the motivations for why they're doing it and what it is that they are slaughtering, and then when they explain to you in your answer and you are listening to them, don't argue. That is the reason why. Because they'll go on and on about how one Israeli child died. That's why 20,000 Palestinian children died. And they
We
want you
can't
to talk about that one Israeli child and ignore the 20,000 because they don't see your life as anything. And they
no.
don't understand why you should bother with that 20,000. But we can just explain them all in one sentence, Hamas. So let's talk about this Israeli child. That's what they're doing. It's not working. No, everyone's seeing through it. And now they don't know what to do. They've lost all respectability for the system that they're in. And at the same time this has happened, BRICS has kicked in. It couldn't have been a worse time for the G7 and the Western world for BRICS to
Thank
come
you.
in.
Yeah. Like I keep saying, my son is 18. I'm going to move to a BRICS nation, and hopefully I can get a job in IT or something, because I'm done with this system. This is a cancerous, and I'm not going to support. Even if I could do well in America, I don't want to, because I don't want my money being used to kill people. So let me make money in a country in which the taxes aren't used for genocide. I mean, you're lucky. The money that you get is not being used for genocide. Okay. Thanks, Kule.
Well,
So
unless I buy the wrong ingredients. So unless I go
yeah,
and buy
we can't. We
Coca-Cola.
can't do that. The
We have
world is so connected.
Coca-Cola and KFC.
Yeah, that's too complex. The whole world, you
Yeah.
can't follow the money that way. If that's the case, you just have to starve to death because everything is interdependent. All right, take us out.
Yeah, I mean, Johnson and Johnson are the only ones that make good cotton buds. So, I mean, if I stop using them,
Oh
I
yeah,
have
I'll stop
problems.
using them too.
They're,
I'll stop.
they're on the list of Israeli goods we shouldn't be using. But we digress.
Oh yeah,
So
so
it's
just
been
take us out.
another heart-wrenching. Oh, okay. We were going to discuss the other two issues about the riots in California and the
Oh no,
nuclear
we'll do that
talks and so
tomorrow
on.
because we're out of time. We'll do that tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Thanks.
so it's been another harrowing few days of watching the slaughter continue. We've seen Greta Thunberg come in and do her thing for the photo ops. It's
How
becoming more
dare
and
you,
more,
Clay?
it's becoming
Clay,
easier.
how dare Jews? How dare Jews?
Yeah,
Let me stop that. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I've noticed that I'm not getting blocked or warned as often as I was on Facebook when I make comments about Palestine. So
Yeah.
something must be going right in the world, but I don't know if it's too little, too late. I've seen countries starting just slowly to say, "Oh, maybe it is a genocide." A bit too late for many people. So let's hope, let's keep the pressure on, and let's see that this bloodshed ends. Because Mandela said, until Palestine is free, no black man is free. I think he said something to those words. And
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is why, because it's the last bastion, the last major powerful bastion of Western hegemony, neocolonialism, and it's the youngest and most dangerous neo-colonialist settlement of the Western world. And it is still showing the things that they used to do in the years of slave trade and Jim Crow and all those abominable laws, and they still live by that code in
Yeah.
that country, which is why they think like that and why they see people don't look like them as less than worthy of life. I don't know how they managed to learn how to de-educate themselves and understand that all life is valuable and all human beings are equally valuable, and that an Israeli person's life is not worth more than a Palestinian man's life. It's the same value. And when you put the same value to it, don't do what you're doing. And I hope the world learns this.
Okay. Thank you. So we'll see you tomorrow. We'll talk more about the Trump incident. Have a good one today.
Okay,
Thank you.
nice one.